Oh, you can take that. Yeah.
This is recording.
Yeah, and that is recording. Oh, yeah.
Let's go. It's conference.
Okay. And I was supposed to record my screen, I think.
Yeah. That one is recording now. So.
Okay.
Wait. Let's bring more chairs from.
More chairs. Okay. So. Yeah.
Är den streamad någonstans?
Nej, vi kommer spela in den. We're doing a recording, so. But it's a workshop, so I mean, it's supposed to. Yeah. You were popular. We haven't even announced.
That was weird.
Yeah. Like it's very unofficially announced. So I think that's fine.
Yeah, but of course we need more.
It's recording.
Okay,
That's 3 chairs.
we'll start. I'll sort of try to break the ice and just introduce you.
Okay.
That's, yeah.
Let's hear those jokes.
Yeah, and if you want to speak Swedish, he won't understand. So let's just switch to Swedish directly if you want, like to.
Make fun of
Yeah,
me. Like,
so-
yeah.
But by the way, this is Joe Hiller. He's here from San Francisco and actually joining us in this week between 2 conferences. You're going to
Embedded.
Hamburger Messe. No,
Hanover.
Hanover Messe next week.
Yep.
And you were to Nuremberg last week.
Yeah, embedded world.
Yeah.
So, yep.
So you brought some stuff as well from that.
Yeah, you got all of my swag from embedded world. So, yeah.
You also have to introduce yourself a little bit, and yeah, I'm sure you will. But it's for us a quite cool thing to have Joey on board for this week. So we've actually been doing a lot of stuff. Last day we spent a full day of just trying to set up Helium gateways. Took much more time than we anticipated. But yeah, we did it. So it's really good Helium coverage in this room at the moment. And we have one gateway here. I think both of them or one of them.
Yeah, I think we have 2 gateways penetrating us.
Yeah. So you feel that tingling sensation
Highly
because of Helium.
They only sit and listen. It's okay.
Yeah.
LoRaWAN's pretty quiet. Yeah.
But that's the plan. And the plan was for today is let's just do something. Let's make a workshop and let's like sort of.
Yeah. Give a little sampler of things you can do with the network. So, yeah.
And everyone in here should have been working with, maybe not all with Helium, but everyone with LoRa. That I'm sure, right? Yeah. So everyone knows LoRa. And when I say LoRa, you probably know more about TTN because that's often the default option when you start. So we need to change that today.
Right. Yeah. All right. Yeah, we're going to all leave with a better picture of the options available. Yeah.
So that's it. Please,
Cool.
welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, like Frederick was saying, we'll try to keep this a little bit informal. I've largely structured this to, there's this little stack of dev boards here, and I want to leave these with everybody. So we'll kind of walk through the process of what it looks like to flash some firmware to them. That's universal to TTN or Helium or anything. But then we'll take that a little bit of a step further and onboard those into Helium. It gives you the sort of access to the whole network. But a little bit of background on me. I've been a part of the Helium Foundation. It was formerly known as the DY Alliance, Decentralized Wireless, for 2.5 years or so. But I've actually been building software and products on top of the Helium network ever since 2020. 4 years. So it's a relatively new network, which is why a lot of folks haven't heard about it. And then in Europe, you've got TTN, which is fantastic. And we don't have that in the United States. So it's kind of a different paradigm. But there's a lot of opportunities to overlap or like think about using these networks together. So yeah, before Helium, just the light background, I spent a lot of time building consumer products of sort of a number of varieties. I've done everything from e-commerce to Instagram ads and all the standard stuff. So yeah, it's a weird path to get here, but it all makes sense. So anyway, just a little bit about Helium. We are a sponsor member of the LoRa Alliance, so we sort of participate in all the governance and things like that for the LoRaWAN protocol as a whole. I'm still actually not sure why they're called the LoRa Alliance and not the LoRaWAN Alliance, because LoRa is a different thing, as you all know. But anyway, we spend a lot of time talking with those teams as well. This is the map of deployed Helium gateways. It's a little out of date, but if we're just looking at North America and Europe, that's like pretty accurate to what we've seen. And so each of these dots represents a location where somebody has gone and deployed a Helium hotspot. So we have this cool opportunity to leverage this network in just about every major city you can think of across Europe or North America. So when we think about sensor applications that leverage these types of things, anything that's mobile, like you want this contiguous coverage, right? You want to be able to have a sensor that you onboard in your factory or in residential or even your own car. The own car thing is personal to me because my truck got stolen like a month or so ago, and I had a LoRaWAN tracker in it. I got to find it. And people were looking for AirTags and stuff. I had an AirTag in there too. But the LoRaWAN sensor was still in there. I found it under a freeway same morning. And so that's kind of the power of leveraging a network where there's this continuous coverage, is that things can go and hop around. You can start thinking about asset tracking that goes on freeways, on trains, and not just sort of the perimeter around where a private network gateway is deployed. So what does this look like? Frederick even he should be a picture in this slide, but folks pick up these gateways. This is one that we built last night. It's just a Raspberry Pi and a LoRaWAN concentrator. And they go and put big antennas on them. They put them in outdoor enclosures. They put them in windowsills, everything you can imagine. It kind of creates all of these layers of coverage. So here in Kalmar, there's gateways on towers, and there's gateways in people's homes, and there's probably gateways in people's basements and everything in between. And all of that gives you varying levels of reliance on the network. So Helium's strength is its redundancy. There's 300,000, a little more than 300,000 active gateways on the Helium network right now. And so with all of that density, you get reliability. And that's kind of the really cool angle for a network like this. Whereas...
And the peak number of gateways, like it's been up and down.
Yeah. So and then of course the network fluctuates, being a people-powered network. Some are going to come offline. The hardware might break. A cat knocks it out of the plug, off the wall. Things like that. But through the sheer volume of it, you create something that's very robust. This is one of my favorite slides I ever get to show, because it's so cool seeing these pictures that people have shared from all over the world, from like Ecuador to Portugal, and people go and do illegal things and put them in public parks and stuff, which I do not condone, but it can be exciting to see the lengths that people will go to deploy gateways and provide coverage. So Helium, just to touch on this really quickly, the whole driving factor here is this thing that we're getting to know as DPIN, decentralized physical infrastructure. And if you're going to the event tonight, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But it's this recognition that you can create robust networks by trusting people to go do that. And you don't have to be a $10 billion corporation in order to do those things. So if you build the technology in a way that is accessible and available for people to go deploy, and you create the right coordination mechanisms around that, it works. And so Helium does this with a cryptocurrency. And so everyone who deploys one of these gateways gets tokens in proportion for the amount of data that they transfer, as well as some awards for purely creating that coverage in the first place. So that's the key driver behind what has made this thing work. But I'm not going to talk about that too much right now. We're doing good? All right.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay. Cool. So this gets to the workshop side of things. And so I kind of want to break away from lecturing and decks and things like that. And I want people to take these boxes. And we might have to dig out some USB cables.
Yeah. Is it
okay.
C or micro USB?
Micro USB. Yeah.
We have a box.
So all of you have touched LoRaWAN before. Probably different development boards. These are from a company called Heltec. They're very cheap and they're very flexible. I use these to build mappers, and we go and map the entire Helium network. I think we'll again talk about that a little bit tonight as well. But they're pretty robust. It has a NeoPixel, it has GPS, it has the LoRaWAN, a USB to serial converter, kind of all you need to put together a basic little solution. The code that I've put together just starts spamming packets, just so we can start seeing some stuff come across. And then I sort of leave it to the reader to go and start experimenting with the other things that are on board. But we can take some of these, and then I want to dive in to playing around with things. Let's see, who needs one?
Yeah, who has how many computers do you have?
LoRaWAN network server as well, under their IoT Creators brand. And that was something that we did about a year ago. So, yeah. Cool. So as folks start wrapping up the sign-up process, in the grand scheme of the things that we're going to go through, we're going to set up VS Code. I have to imagine a lot of you have it already.
I guess no one. I think everyone has VS Code.
Beautiful. Okay. Yeah. Pretty common.
Surprised if not.
Yeah.
So.
We're going to pull some code off of GitHub. I put together a little example thing that just is easy to run. We're going to use Platform.io. Platform.io. I don't know the right way to say that is. But that'll run inside of VS Code, and it's going to do all the toolchain management for compiling and uploading the project. And then the thing that you've just done is signed up for a LoRaWAN network server. So this is the equivalent like TTN or things like that you may have interfaced with already. So, and this one in particular is operated by a community member inside of the Helium ecosystem, and he's been building LoRaWAN network servers even before Helium existed, and he's sort of risen to be one of the higher volume operators in the ecosystem. So he runs stuff in Europe, and he also runs some for other companies in the United States and Brazil and places like that. So.
What are you doing?
Yeah, this is kind of a long one. If you go, you can just go to my GitHub profile, and then we'll find it in there. Let's see if we make it. Yes. Cool. So this is the repository where I've got the demo code stood up. So if you hit my profile, this is a fork of the broader ecosystem of demo things from Heltec. And I've just stripped away a bunch of stuff so you don't have to navigate as many things. But you can always go and look at the source for this fork and get a whole bunch more stuff. Make the LC, make the screen do things, all that kind of fun stuff.
You have worked with the IKEA vindriktning sensor as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw like a Swedish name, vindriktning. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I even learned how to say it too.
Yeah.
So yeah, vindicting, kind of. Yeah. It was a hard one for me. It's got a lot of syllables. Yeah, so that sensor is an air particulate sensor from IKEA that has no internet connectivity. And so basically by plugging one of these ends to the UART signal, I was able to read off the particulate sensors and then put that all into a spreadsheet. So that's another, you can use these dev boards. I think these dev boards will actually fit. I think the green one is the one that I used for that project. So that's a fun one. Not the highest quality air particulate sensor though. So yeah, kind of drifts over time.
To do those kind of things with IKEA stuff. I opened a toll-free controller that you have for lights.
Okay, yeah.
And then opened that and then did the buttons because you can dim, you could do.
Oh yeah.
So I just made it Bluetooth and then simulated the button.
Button pressing. Yeah. That's great. Cool. So I'm actually going to stop leaning on this presentation now, and we'll just kind of like get into it. Actually, let's me.
Is your GitHub this screen?
Cool. I see the code up on a couple of screens. Getting there.
We need to install C#, right?
Yeah, everything it's going to ask you to install is part of its like build tool chain. Yeah. Yeah, it's a heavy one. Yeah. The nice thing is it tends to get out of the way when you're not doing embedded development. So if there's no platform IO INI file, it doesn't load all this stuff. So yeah, it's good. Oh yeah, you got in there. Perfect. Cool. I'm gonna get into this in a second. Yeah. Cool. I see a bunch of people. It looks like we've got the tool chain loaded. I see people in code. I'm in bright mode because I'm a sociopath here, but this is what you're going to see here. If Platform IO doesn't pop up with these little icons down in the bottom, what I'll have you do is open the Platform IO home, and we'll just say open project, and then navigate into the folder where you cloned that, and we'll go, where did I clone that? GitHub. Oh, I zoomed in, so now I'm like all disoriented here. Documents, I think it's in here. Yeah.
Or, yeah, you cloned it. Yes. No, it's download.
So yeah, you'll just navigate to where you cloned it to, open the LoRaWAN folder, and then say open LoRaWAN, and Platform IO will grab everything and stand up that instance. And then you should see all of these icons down at the bottom start to appear. Now, standalone, if you tried to compile this code, it would probably fail, just because the EUIs haven't been entered. I think it tends to fail out. I don't know why, but it doesn't like that. So I've already got some keys, but this is what we're going to do next.
It was a success for me, even if I didn't change anything. I just compiled.
Oh, good. It didn't.
No changes, whatever.
Okay, great. So it doesn't complain too much. I get confused in the different code bases that I work in, and the.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Compiling is one step.
Compiling, but there's nothing in the other end now, so like.
Oh,
It's one thing.
right.
I'll just wait for it.
Yeah. Cool. So we'll pause a little bit on the code front. Let's go ahead and switch back over to heliumiot.xyz.
Okay, do you listen?
So what we'll do now is we're going to provision some keys that we can go and load on, because we're building a device from the ground up effectively. If you went and bought a sensor off the shelf, it would already have these keys, and then you'd be adding them here. But we're going to do this a little bit inverted. We're going to generate the keys inside of the LNS. It's just the easiest way to do it. and then we're going to feed those keys into our code and then run that out. This is Chirpstack, and most of the LoRaWAN network servers that you're going to find that are offering Helium connectivity are going to be using this today. It is basically the best, most fully featured thing out there. It's fully open source. It's written in Rust on the back end. So I think PRs are always welcome. Orn, who runs this project, he's a great guy, and he's got a very good vision for how LoRaWAN should operate. Effectively, there's a couple of steps. So what we are going to do first in setting this up is create a device profile. And this is going to tell our application how to operate on the network. So on the left-hand side, we can ignore most of these things for now, and we're just going to focus on the device profiles view and the applications view. So open up device profiles and then add a device profile. And we will just give it a name. I call everything demo, and then it gets really confusing when I've got like 24 demo things, but we're going to go with it. What is today?
It's
April 7th. Deep in Day. Yeah, let's do Deep in Day. So with LoRaWAN, as I'm sure you know, but I'll reiterate a little bit anyway, there are different region plans based on the radio frequencies that the government makes available. So here in Europe, you're lucky you've got a very contiguous agreement around being able to leverage EU868. In the United States, we use the 915 band, the center band. The Helium Foundation has actually been pushing a lot of regional standardization because it's very fractured in a lot of other countries. So recently we rolled out a unification plan for most of Africa to use EU868 as well. And then we're working with the LoRa Alliance to sort of help codify that for other LoRaWAN networks as well. So if you ever want to get into RF politics, I'll tell you all about it. But the only thing we need to do right now, give it a name. All of these defaults will work. So we're going to do EU868, of course, the Mac version and regional parameters, all that, we're good to go. So we'll hit submit. And then we can move over to the applications view. So on the left, we'll hit applications. We will create a new application because you don't have one yet. And we'll call this something else. Deep in Demo Day application. And these are all just basically nice organizational tools for scaled solutions. So it's a lot of steps for a one-off device, but once you start thinking about running 20, 40, 800, 10,000 sensors, you're going to want these types of organizational tools. So we'll hit submit. Our application is created, and now we will add a device. That will be this specific device here. So I'm going to call mine the Heltec Demo thing. I don't know. We'll come up with something there. And now we get into keys a little bit. So we will generate down here with this little refresh button looking guy. I'll make this a little bigger. Generate a key. And then with the copy view here, we're going to use MSB, most significant byte ordering for this particular code. So you don't need to change anything here. We will copy the hex array. And now we can flip back into our code and we will paste that right on top of the dev EUI. So device EUI to dev EUI. I'll let you go ahead and do that for a second.
This is
I'm gonna have to delete these keys later.
Den säger att då skriva det där.
Ja.
Inte bra.
Ja, det är bara 0x9. Det var det där. 0x9. Det är väl det vi vet. Det är bara så.
Då gick det in och
No, that's a profile. This is not. This is a device profile. No, it's just
open.
like the settings for how it should connect.
Do we have like some off the shelf
The Dragino, or yeah. I need to get you some seed hardware. It's actually really nice. So while we're going through that, I'll make a note here. The join EUI is a interesting one. Chirpstack doesn't actually really use it for routing. You can set it, and Helium's network packet router will leverage it for device routing, but you can also just set it to all zeros, which effectively wildcards that field. So if you want, you can do the little refresh thing and generate one. We should probably just do that because we ran into some bugs yesterday. So go ahead and do this one as well. Hit the, you may have already done this, but do one of these, grab the hex array, and that will map to the app UI. So a little confusing, but join UI to app UI. I won't get too far into the details of that right now. But. So get that one in there, and then the last step here is to add the device profile that you created. That's going to let Chirpstack know that this is an EU868 device and all of sort of the LoRaWAN parameters that are attached to the application. And then once you hit submit, you're going to see the application key. We're doing OTAA provisioning for all of these. This is the over-the-air activation. Chirpstack and Helium also support ABP, so you can pre-bake your keys and load those on, but don't do that because it's terrible practice. You're much better off using OTA for just about every application until you don't think it's going to join for some reason. So I'm going to generate these. I'm going to, again, copy as an array, and then we will drop that into our app key. And now we can hit submit. These are loaded into Chirpstack. Simultaneously, there's a application that's run as part of this service that submits these keys to Helium's packet router. And so now globally, the entire network knows about this device. And when it starts to see those payloads, it can route them accordingly to our network server. And so we can jump over. I tend to jump straight into this LoRaWAN frames view for the application. And you're going to just see the little spinny things until we actually compile and run, which I can't do because I don't have hardware, but everyone should go and press both this little checkbox, which builds the code with those keys that you've saved in the sketch, and then upload that. This is our moment of truth that everything works. So hit the little alien guy on the left, and then there's open. That's good, but then Platform IO didn't make it in, so that you know this, but this is kind of the part of this example code is where you'd set that payload and then do your decoding on the other end of things, whether through a decoder inside of Chirpstack or inside of your application. Payload decoder formats inside Chirpstack tend to look exactly the same as TTN, so that should be really familiar. When you're out there looking around, you'll find devices that say Helium decoder, TTN decoder. Use the TTN decoder because there's an old platform that some people still have old docs for, that's the Helium one. Just don't use those. Use the other, yeah. This is the way forward. So, yeah, thank you for, so awesome to see everyone get through that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and everyone should come out tonight, right?
I'm not sure who is and who is not, but
What time is it?
5:30, I think. Yeah.
Something thereabouts.
Yeah, nearby. Yeah.
Show up at 6.
You
miss me
need to
that way.
register. I'm just saying that because people are buying food and beer, so you need to register.
It's free though.
The
So with the
students
code,
get a
right?
very, very discounted price.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good.
How long will it be?
Till after midnight.
Yeah. 2
I think
a.m.
we'll probably eat 7:30, something like that. I guess you can go home earlier if you want, but 9 o'clock, like reasonable if you just want to stay around. I think people will leave at 8, 9. So like,
Will there be an after party?
I'll make it after. We don't have anything to do tomorrow.
Bro, can you?
Doesn't matter.
Hey bro, don't talk to me, I'm rich now.
Now we'll see if it actually joins. Now,
Speaking of,
and you haven't asked for airdrops.
anyway.
Airdrops.
Oh yeah. There's no airdrop. Sorry. The other cool thing that I mentioned, there's these other demo code things. This platform is one that I helped build, so it's kind of a fun thing. But this is the community sourced coverage map. So people are actually walking around with little sensors like the ones you have, exactly the same. And they send out a payload that has GPS encoded in it. And then when it gets received, we know where that person was with that little box. And we also know the gateways that were responsible for transferring that data. And so we're able to build this really highly detailed, true coverage map of the Helium network, which is a really cool thing to be able to do. And that is happening like all over the globe. People walk around with these things. So you can do that with this. Or you can put it in your car and track your car. Like whatever you want. There's kind of sky's the limit. It's a great little platform. But yeah.
You see the mapping data, you see the bridge, and there is another one that it goes back and forth. That it must be the ferry.
the ferry.
Yeah.
That's the ferry.
Yeah. Somebody did the ferry 3 years ago then. And then you see me walking around 4 days ago with my mapper.
Är du som har simmat, David?
Nej, simmat har jag inte.
It's really cool actually. So.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun building this. This is actually the thing that I did right before I joined the Helium Foundation and got their attention. So, cool. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Thanks all. Yeah, we should stop recording because it's probably like terabytes of data.